This is the continuation of first video. Let's see. Next step is improving soil fertility. Soil fertility can be improved by adding manure and chemical fertilizers. Manure or organic manure is sometimes produced by the decomposition of crop residue, animal dung, the sludge from the treatment of sewage, and so on. Some plants are grown specially to produce manure. They are referred as green manure. Then chemical fertilizers. Chemical fertilizers are produced in factories. There are three types of fertilizers: nitrogenous fertilizers, phosphatic fertilizers, and potassic fertilizers. Fertilizers provide certain nutrients which are either absent or not present in adequate quantities in manure. Now, farmers adopt different methods of farming to improve soil fertility. These are fallow field, crop rotation, and nitrogen fixation. Fallow field means to not cultivate a piece of land for one or more seasons. This helps the soil to regain fertility by decomposition of organic matter. Crop rotation. If you grow the same crop in the same field season after season, the soil becomes deficient in nutrients needed by the crop and become less fertile. So it is better to grow one crop in one season and another crop in the next season. This process is called crop rotation. Next, we'll see nitrogen fixation.
things that constitute potential threats to crops? Harsh weather, insects, pests, and what else? Weeds. That's right. Weeds are harmful plants that grow alongside the crops. Why are weeds coming? It's because these plants too have roots which take up the nutrients from the soil and they compete for sunlight and water. This could seriously damage the crops, leaving them with little or no nutrients at all. So, how do farmers get rid of these plants? Farmers usually remove all weeds in the initial stage of soil preparation. While tilling the soil, almost all weeds are uprooted and their remains serve as humus to the soil. However, if these weeds grow after the crop is sown, they need to be removed manually. This can be done with bare hands or with medicines which kill these plants. Wait, what do you mean by medicines? Won't these medicines damage the crop? Well, these are known as weedicides and are designed to only kill weeds. These chemicals are diluted using water and then spread over the farms. Farmers also use implements like a khurpi or a seed drill to uproot weeds. Now tell me, can weeds be removed anytime? Or should we destroy them before a particular time? Yes, weeds should be uprooted before they produce flowers and seeds. Weedicides too should be sprayed before they flower. But extreme caution must be maintained while spraying these chemicals. Can you guess why? Well, these chemicals can prove harmful even to the farmers. And that is why you see farmers covering their nose and mouths with a piece of cloth while spraying these chemicals. Now that you've studied about crop protection against weeds, let us study the second last stage of crop production. The stage where the crop has matured after a span of 3 to 4 months. It's the harvest. And what does it exactly mean? Harvest the crop simply means to cut the crop after it has matured. Do you think it's as easy as it sounds? Of course not. Harvesting of crops, if done manually, the machine is used to harvest crops. It is usually the harvester. Crops are either pulled out or cut close to the ground. Once the crop is harvested, it needs to be threshed. What do I mean by threshed? The grains need to be separated from the stalks. Threshing is the next step after harvesting and is carried out manually. However, even machines called threshers are employed for this nowadays. In certain cases, farmers use a combination of harvester and thresher, a machine called combine. The machinery can carry out the process of harvesting and threshing together. Threshing is usually the beating of stalks on a surface that separates the grains from the stalks. Now the grains have yet another covering before they can be finally stored. That is the chaff. Chaff is then separated by a process called winnowing. In this process, small farmers manually separate the chaff from grains with the help of the wind. Grains are dropped down from a height and the wind carries away the chaff while the grains, being heavier, get collected into a heap. So, with the three processes are employed for this nowadays. In certain cases, farmers use a combination of harvester and thresher, a machine called combine. The machinery can carry out the process of harvesting and threshing together. Threshing is usually the beating of stalks on a surface that separates the grains from the stalks. Now the grains have yet another covering before they can be finally stored. That is the chaff. Chaff is then separated by a process called winnowing. In this process, small farmers manually separate the chaff from grains with the help of the wind. Grains are dropped down from a height and the wind carries away the chaff while the grains, being heavier, get collected into a heap. So, with the three processes.
After harvesting, the last process is storage. Storage of grains. Food grains should be well dried before storage because moisture encourages the growth of microorganisms. They are then stored in metal or earthen containers or grain silos. The godowns where grains are stored are first fumigated to get rid of pests. Fumigation. What is fumigation? Fumigation is the process of using the vapors of a chemical. The chemical can be sprayed using hand-operated machines. Cold storage. Here, the temperature is maintained between 0 degrees Celsius and 4 degrees Celsius to store fruits and vegetables. Food from animals. These are milk, eggs, and meat. Animal products are rich in vitamins and proteins. Animal proteins are more completely digested by us because it contains amino acids that plant proteins lack. Let's see. Eggs. The white of an egg contains protein and also it contains vitamin B. The yolk of an egg is not considered very good for health as it is made up of mostly of fat. Next, meat. Here the meat is categorized in two parts, that is red meat and white meat. Red meat contains lot of fat. The examples are goats, sheep, pigs and cow. The meat of fish and chicken is referred as white meat because it contains low fat. White meat is more easily digestible and it is healthier than red meat. So here our chapter is finished.